What's up, everybody? We are back. John Delarose here, the leading Hispanic voice in science fiction. Now, I read through Peter David's Supergirl run recently, and that got canceled because they were going to return Kara Zor-El instead of Peter David's strange fallen angel as Supergirl that they had before. And you might notice the title here, Fallen Angel. And yes, it did come out of that. Basically, Peter David's series got canceled, but he had more planned. He had a bunch for it, and Dan DiDio said, hey, rework this into your own creator-owned thing, and we'll see what we can do publishing it. And so he did so. And Peter David came out with this book. And so this is his own book with the artist David Lopez doing the art through the entire run here. And Peter David owns it, even though DC published it at the time. IDW actually published this volume because Peter David eventually went to IDW with the book. But it lasted for 20 issues. Sales went really low. Peter David actually was really, this is just a passion project for him. And there was a point where he actually went out to comic shops and sent them all signed book plates for the books for people who would pick it up, just in order to just try to drive some revenue for it. But it fell below the cancellation standards. They killed it and axed it at issue number 20. And this is the entire DC run in one book. Now, for most omnibuses that we read here and review, you'll note that they're bigger, oversized. This is actually smaller than the standard comic. IDW did these in this small format, which I find really annoying. I want big art. I don't want small art. But I don't know, maybe they save printing costs or something like that for something that is a pretty niche-y sort of thing. Now, he reworked the Supergirl, and we don't get this gal's origin. Her name is Lee, like Leesburg from Supergirl. But she is this mysterious person who just hangs out in this city called Bete Noire. And Bete Noire is a place where bad things happen at night, and during the day everybody's safe, but it changes. The city changes, and it's mysterious and is not really told what happens. There's this group called the Hierarchy that runs everything in the city from the shadows, and they have a magistrate in charge of things. And the magistrate kind of directs everything that goes along, and our superheroine is sleeping with the magistrate. And this is where it deviates from Supergirl right away, in that it gets a bit more darker and edgier and more sexualized, and it's definitely like the rated R version. Peter David just came unleashed and did whatever he wanted, and that's not my favorite thing to read in comic books. I like to keep things on the purer side. But Peter David was a good enough storyteller that that was all right regardless of that. So that's kind of the setting that's going on. And basically this fallen angel girl works out of a bar. People come to her and ask, for their help. And then she investigates into things. And she gives her judgment. There is no nudity or anything like that. It is implied. But it is what it... But, it's pretty heavily implied. She gives her justice, though. And her justice might not be what people think it would be. And very interesting cast of characters. There's like this enforcer guy who's dating this gal who is like an enemy of the fallen angel, who basically enforces justice in the town. There's the bartender who's mysterious. There's, of course, the magistrate who we talked about. And she just goes through several different adventures. There's this guy, drug dealer, Asia Minor, and she kind of works for him, but she also blows up all of his drugs in the process. So it's an interesting hero in that she's an anti-hero type, and it's, again, just the stuff that I generally don't like all that much in terms of the content. But again, the stories are crafted well enough that it overcomes that, which is kind of nice. And the art's not all that dark because this is a different artist. There's some of the raunchier scenes, I guess. But we get a lot of history of these characters, and Peter David really focuses on each character. What I like about this is from Peter David is I've read a lot of Peter David's work lately, and he has a tendency to have all of his characters be the same quirky, snappy, pun-riddled type of people all the time, and the characters actually are very different in this book. He actually gets into his like real depth in character writing in here. Every character really has their own thing. This guy's got control over this gal's death. Like she cannot die because he's like got her spirit trapped basically, and so you see that she's got a mortal wound. Just very interesting concepts that get explored through this entire thing. Eventually, the hierarchy gets upset with the fallen angel throughout this. The art's very consistent all the way through. I wouldn't say that David Lopez does the prettiest feminine art, but it's serviceable. And, it's consistent because it's the same art, so you know what to expect through this. His panel layouts are pretty good. Some of Peter David's scenes get a little bendisy here. This is kind of a funky piece of art here. Look at that. Look at that. I don't know. Some of it gets weird, but most of it is serviceable as it is, and it works for the story, and that's what's important. So, the hierarchy eventually decides that Fallen Angel is a threat to them, and spoiler, she's pregnant with the magistrate's kid. The magistrate's ordered to kill her. He doesn't want to, but this guy kind of comes after her anyway, and it all comes to a big head. And this is good art here. Like, you see, you get this nice, like, walking in front of the burning village, right? And that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool looking. I guess some of the I don't like his faces as much as I do. I guess some of the layouts and stuff like that. But there you go. Very nice double page spread of feels like a Star Wars fight almost with the hierarchy here. And she deals with all the threats, and she kills who she needs to kill. She does not care. There's everybody's kind of dark, everybody's kind of twisted. The nuns actually aren't, which is interesting. One thing I do like about this is that the sort of Catholic Christian nun priests, whatever you want to call them, are actually wholesome people who are kind of really striving to do the right thing. And there's a couple instances where this nun shows up in here, and she actually makes a point of getting rid of something that she wants that's very, very important as a relic. Which I won't spoil all of it, I guess, in case somebody wants to read this. And probably most of you have not read this. But she makes a point that, because she was craving it so much, it was her own personal desire, and she wants to get rid of the personal desire and the darkness and all that. And I really appreciated that, because, doing something hard to get rid of personal desire and darkness and all that is really nice. And that was a nice contrast from what you see of clergy generally in most comics. But it wraps up pretty nicely, and she rides off into the sunset at the end of the book after killing people she probably shouldn't have killed, and it implies that they're going to come after the magistrate afterwards and kind of find his weakness. Now, she's pretty invulnerable, and that's kind of her deal. She's invulnerable. She can fly a little bit. She's basically Supergirl. Except for she has to concentrate on her powers. And if she's not concentrating on what's going on, that makes her more normal and more human at that point. And so people can exploit that, which is kind of interesting. They don't go a ton into detail into her powers. They don't go a ton into detail. I don't know her origin still. She kind of just showed up in this town after a while. They did do a backstory of how she met the magistrate and came to the town. But I'm sure there's more to it. Now, this is a volume 0, and they call this volume 0. I don't know why they call it volume 0 instead of volume 1, but that's what it is. And there is a volume 1 and 2 omnibuses, which cover the storyline from IDW in this. Very interesting. And like I said, it's not my usual read, not my usual taste, but I still very much enjoyed it. And that is a testament to Peter David's writing abilities. Because if you could do something that's not my style, but I still like it, that tells me, boom, that is something that's good there. Like I said, the art's kind of on the mediocre side, but which is fine. You're reading for the story in this instance anyway. This omnibus is wildly out of print, so good luck finding it. Of course it is. It's just an indie thing that not a lot of people got into, so it was probably a low print run, and especially since this was something they got the rights to from DC to print later. This is one of those things that you might not find again. So if you find this in your local comic shop, pick it up. I think that it's going for over $100 on eBay and Amazon at this point. But volumes 1 and 2, the standard IDW versions, a lot easier to find and a lot cheaper to find. Overall, I would say this is about an 8 out of 10. Like I said, I would have dialed down some of the uncomfortable, trying to prove that not everybody's moral and the hero is not really the hero all the time, kind of points. And I dialed down some of the degeneracy in there. And then I think the art could use a tad bit of improvement in the faces. Beyond that, that's it for the book. and it's a cool little story. I like the background that's set up and all that as it was. Neat little take and very different from what else is out there. All right, if you like the review, hit that like and subscribe button. Leave a comment down below, especially if you've read this. There's only, by the end of the first volume, only 11,000 people were buying the book. Or I guess that's how many sold just a comic shop, so I bet it's even half that. So I wonder if anybody's read this. It'd be interesting to find out. All right, see you guys soon.